Hello, everyone. I feel like we've already bonded, so thank you for being here. I'm Jill Seaford. I'm the Executive Director of Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. It's such an honor to be joined by our Governor and Lieutenant Governor and members of the media, PCAKY board members, staff, and invited friends. We are here today to launch the pioneering initiative of our Upstream Academy. You will see to my left our logo, which I will explain in just a second, but I did want to give thanks to our executive and legislative branches for bringing this groundbreaking program to our state. It is, we were included in the governor's budget, and then we were included in House Bill 1 with the leadership of Speaker David Osborne. So we appreciate everyone's help and support in bringing us to this point. The Upstream Academy will allow for at least one person in each of our 120 counties to be trained in, again, groundbreaking, trend-setting child abuse prevention initiatives. They will receive a stipend. All expenses will be paid, and our hope, our goal is that then each one of those trained individuals will conduct trainings and will train at least 50 people within a 12-month period, so you can see the ripple effect that it will have. We do believe that this is, when I say groundbreaking, I mean in the nation. We are not aware of any other program like this in the nation that will go into communities, train community members to help prevent child abuse and neglect. I mentioned our logo, and if I may take just a couple of moments to explain the logo, because each segment dovetails into what the Upstream Academy is. At the top, first and foremost, are our kids. And then if you go around the life preserver, we have a group of people who are learning and networking together, which is what we want to have happen in the communities. This will be statewide. Again, at least one person in each of our 120 counties. This will be evidence-based, trend-setting. We have looked at decades of research that will help inform the topics that these individuals will be trained on. And then I mentioned the life preserver. Our goal is to go as far upstream as we can to prevent kids from entering foster care, keeping families intact, making sure that children are safe. And then in the middle, you can see our Upstream Academy and our boat with the Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky logo on it. We do have a rigorous application process. There will be background checks for each individual. But again, once an individual is accepted into the academy, there will be stipends, and we will pay for travel, lodging, and all the materials necessary for them to conduct their trainings. At this point, I will turn it over to the governor with thanks for all he has done.
Thank you, Jim. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be standing here with the Lieutenant Governor, with Jill, and with all the great folks from Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky that are here in studio today. We are very grateful for your work in protecting all of our Kentucky children. My faith teaches me that all children are a gift from God. Scripture tells us they are a real blessing. And let me tell you, I believe that even though I'm the dad of 2 teenagers. But being a dad is the most important role that I have ever had. Keeping my children safe is something I continue to think about today. And as governor, it's important that I spend each day thinking about how we keep all of our Kentucky children safe. That's why we've continued to fight to protect Kentucky's kids. Jill and I have now worked together for over a decade. It started when I was asked and agreed to serve on the board of Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky as a lawyer. Then I became Attorney General, and we worked together as my office investigated, arrested, prosecuted more child sex offenders and predators than ever before. And we trained thousands of Kentuckians to recognize and report child abuse as well as human trafficking. And the First Lady and I launched the Hope Gallery to make sure that all children had their voices heard and their stories told in their state capital. And today we stand here again together to support children by announcing the Upstream Academy. I was proud to include funds to support the Academy in my original budget proposal, and then worked with lawmakers to get this funding signed into law. The idea for the Academy is simple. We need more people who can recognize when a family is in need and then can step in before we see types of abuse or neglect happening. That the very best thing that we can do for a child is to prevent harm from ever happening to him or to her, and to connect those families to the supports they need so that child gets the best childhood and the best opportunity of growing into a productive adult. With this funding, Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky is going to do just that. We know in these difficult situations, we must have the power to act. And when we do, our impact does more than heal one child or one set of parents. It can help create stronger, healthier, more loving families for generations. And that is worth everything. Through the Academy, at least one person from each county will be trained to identify and prevent child abuse in their community, and then they can share that knowledge with others in that county. They can make sure their good work grows in their communities. And remember, the folks that will apply to come are the types of do-gooders we need. They'll be able to come, get evidence-based practices, research-based practices, and if there's something we need right now, it is to truly follow the best of what the research shows, because that gets us the best results. If our approach isn't based on politics or ideology, but the safety and the well-being of every single Kentucky child, following these types of approaches helps us to protect as many Kentucky children as possible, and we will continue, and I know PCAKY will continue, to not be satisfied until the number of children abused or neglected in Kentucky is zero. And we have to continue to believe that's possible, because one abused or one neglected child is one child of God that's not receiving the best from this world, and it means we have to do better. Jill, you all use the word upstream because you're changing the way that prevention training works. You're doing something innovative by training community members who will then turn around and train 50 more people. It's like one of those things where they say, and then they tell 2 people, and then they tell 2 people. And what you see is the magnification grows so quickly, especially when we go from 1 to 50. PCAKY and the Commonwealth believe this is the first time this type of prevention training has been made available in this form. Each graduate will receive training on important topics like stopping child sex abuse, identifying shaken baby syndrome, and preventing abuse and neglect. Together, you are creating life-changing opportunities for others to help families before they enter the child welfare system. So many parents, caregivers, and loved ones stay up at night worrying about the safety of a child. And thanks to Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky and their 330 partners around the state, it's important to note this is just their latest endeavor, their latest move to further work to prevent child abuse. 330 partners built through the years and 13,000 allies that they are training. They're going to make a huge difference in the future, just like they have in the present and in our recent past. Y'all are going to create brighter futures and make sure all of our kids have the opportunity to thrive. For those who'd like to be chosen to represent your county, you can find out more at PCAKY.org. To those that volunteer, thank you. You'll be living out that golden rule that says we love our neighbor as ourselves, and that parable of the Good Samaritan that says everyone, and certainly every child, is our neighbor. And as responsible adults, we have a duty to every single one of them. This announcement comes at a time when we are seeing record-breaking economic success around Kentucky, where we're reintroducing ourselves to the world in our new Kentucky home. And we want that home, to everyone who lives here or everyone who moves here, to be a safe home for each and for every family. I believe that we are winning right now in terms of economic development, both because we've got a great business climate, because of speed to market, but also we're an amazing place to live. We're people of strong values. And what we're doing here today sends a message that's heard in so many different ways and heard by so many different people. But think about those business owners where this is something as important to them as it is to us. That says that this is a place where the families that they employ will be raising kids who are safe, who are nurtured, and where people in the community are trained to step in and help when things go wrong. I think about the things that we've done together over the last 5 years. We've signed multiple bills into law that go after abusers and that strengthen background checks. We've passed legislation that increases the amount of time that incest offenders spend in prison. When I became governor, they weren't recognized as violent offenders. Now, thankfully, they are. We strengthen reporting requirements when Kentuckians have reason to believe a child has been abused, neglected, or trafficked. We supported our state social workers and family support staff with multiple raises, knowing we needed so many more social workers to better care for our kids. KSP's taken steps to improve their digital forensic labs to help catch more predators. We supported laws to make it easier for law enforcement to conduct undercover stings and stop the chances of a horrific crime happening to a child. Kentucky was recently selected to receive $9 million over 3 years from the Doris Duke Foundation. That's to help identify and help at-risk children. And in this past session, together, we made even more progress when I joined Representative Stephanie Dietz, Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, the Kentucky State Police, and the Attorney General's office, truly all of us, working together to sign a bill into law that further protects children from predators. These are positive changes. But because we know that abuse and neglect still continues across Kentucky, there's more to do. And we're going to keep doing more. You're going to see more collaboration between this administration and Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. I've known what they've done for over 10 years. They've made a huge difference over 10 years. And this is one of the initiatives I am most excited about. One where if we can stop abuse from ever occurring in the first place and provide the supports that help that child get the best education, the best nutrition to grow up and be such a productive Kentuckian, then we don't just do our job by our Creator. We do a great job of ultimately moving the economy and the well-being of this state forward. So Jill, Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, thank you. Very, very excited about this. Keep doing good because that's our job. You know, life's short. So we need to keep doing good things and being kind to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. And we welcome our Lieutenant Governor to the podium for a few brief comments.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Governor. And to all the folks from Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky who are here today, I consider so many of you to be friends. I am in awe of your work. I admire the inspiration that you bring, and to all of the dedication that your donors and volunteers and staff bring to this issue on behalf of Kentucky's kids. The Upstream Academy announcement today is a big deal. It is an example of what progress can and should look like. This is the kind of progress that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It truly takes everyone working together. So from Governor Beshear, who included this funding in the final budget, to the legislature, the local partners in all 120 counties for being the boots on the ground. Speaking of being the boots on the ground, as a classroom teacher who came into contact with hundreds, maybe even thousands of kids every single year for over a decade in the classroom, I know the kind of impact that this program is going to have in our communities, particularly our rural communities who often have fewer resources and maybe even less support than other places. This kind of work is going to build a coalition of folks across the state who are more educated, who are more aware, and who are able to be more helpful in situations where we can help to prevent child abuse in Kentucky. And I have to say that regardless of anything that we celebrate across the state and the Commonwealth, from jobs to economic development to educational attainment, This is the foundation of the work of building a better, more prosperous Kentucky, because it's the kind of Kentucky that every single child deserves. And everybody here today and who has made this possible has taken one more step to building that kind of Kentucky for the next generation, and together we will keep fighting this fight together. Thank you.
Thank you. So in closing, I want to thank again Governor Beshear for including us in his budget and for signing House Bill 1, Speaker David Osborne, Lieutenant Governor, thank you. The application for this Upstream Academy can be found on our website, PCAKY.org. The application closes February 28th. So hurry and apply, and we look forward to all the applications. At this point, we are happy to take questions on this topic, if anyone has any questions.
Are you seeing an increase in child abuse activity throughout the state? Is that part of the reason the launch of this Upstream Academy?
The impetus for the launch of the academy was strictly prevention. And as the governor said, if there's one child that's abused, that's one too many. And we know that the farther upstream, so at the first, even before the first hint of a problem within a family, we want to be there to provide resources, assistance, and make sure that that family, as the governor has said, has a new Kentucky home with a safe environment for all the kids.
Can I add something, Jill?
Yes, absolutely.
One thing I'd note, when you look at the different statistics, especially on reports of abuse or neglect each year, the reports on human trafficking, at the same time that we are trying to prevent, we're also trying to get people to report. And so we know that each year there are instances of abuse or neglect that aren't reported that we need to know about. So we're both trying to get more reports in, which would increase those numbers, at least the reported numbers, while at the same time, reducing the overall amount. And so those are those dual goals. And so sometimes you'll see numbers that go up from year to year. That means we're doing a better job at making sure that people know the signs to see, to report them, to call them in. I mean, the more reports to us, the more children that we can help. So just as you look through those numbers, I'd urge a little bit of nuance from year to year.
Beyond the requirements on paper,
Please.
what kind of person should apply to be an Upstream Academy member?
Anyone who is interested in helping to prevent child abuse and neglect. I guess in our minds, we're thinking of like there might be retired folks out there, retired social workers, public health workers, anybody in the business community. We don't really have a targeted population, but we know just based on phone calls and just a little bit of a soft launch, we've kind of teased this. We already have 60 applications. So we know that the interest is out there, and we're excited to see who will apply.
Anything else on this?
Just on the surface level, just looking at a child, if you're an adult looking at a child, is there other things you need to look for abuse and neglect, just looking on the surface level?
Depending on the type of abuse or neglect, obviously with physical abuse, you are looking for visible marks that are left on a child. For child sexual abuse, there's a sexual abuse exam that children go through. As the governor mentioned, we did a lot of work together when he was the AG on that particular issue. We also see a lot of neglect, and I want to caution everyone that abuse and neglect are not, neglect and poverty are not the same thing. So in our state where we do have pockets of poverty, you can still be a good mom, you can still be a good dad, and not make a lot of money. So it's important to make that distinction. Anything else on this? Okay. Thank you, Governor. We appreciate you.
Thank you. as Jill leaves, I'd also say on their website there are numerous resources from recognition of abuse to safe internet practices, which are so important for kids. All right, we'll open it up to other questions. I want to try to give everybody who has a question at least one, and then we can come back around if there's time. So, yes.
Governor, within the last half hour or so, the White House rescinded the federal aid freeze. How are you feeling about that? And then also, how are you feeling about the fact that there was an attempt to do this in the first place?
Well, I'm happy there was that they rescinded it because it was illegal, it was poorly written, and it would have been from anywhere from detrimental to destructive in virtually every single state. Can you pull up the graph on our budget? I'll just give you an idea. This was written so broad. It basically just said there are, two things in the beginning that weren't going to be included. I think it was Medicare and Social Security. But that left almost everything else on the table. And when